Hello everyone, I am Demented Kirby, and welcome to my channel, the Commander Tavern. The Commander Tavern is a channel dedicated to my favorite Magic the Gathering format. A Flight is a series where I review the latest released or upcoming set or product for any and all cards that might have some form of impact in Commander. These episodes will be done under the assumption that you've already seen all of the cards in a set and isn't meant to be a spoiler video. This video is my own analysis on the cards I feel are most useful in the Commander format. A Flight is a sampling of several brews, so I will be sampling the new cards from the Unsanctioned product due to release on February 29th. Since I'm releasing this episode before Wizards has updated Gatherer with the Oracle rulings on these cards, I won't go too deep into any complicated interactions with them. If you like any of the cards I'll be mentioning throughout the video, please consider using my TCG Player affiliate link when purchasing those cards. You can find that link down in the description. It'll really help out the channel. Other ways you can help support the channel is with my Patreon. Patrons get early access to scheduled videos on YouTube, and higher tier patrons get access to the VIP section of my Discord server as well. You can find a link to that down in the description too. In fact, patrons got a chance to see this video earlier. Alright, let's get back to the episode. I'm doing this analysis under the assumption that these cards are going to be used by people for their cubes. Since you can put whatever you want in your cube, this episode of A Flight will be tailored to that aspect. So I'm fully aware that silver boarded cards aren't legal for Commander, so I'm only going to discuss those cards I think are worth including in Commander decks and therefore worth considering for a Commander cube. Therefore, I'm going to start off with the 6 legendary creatures from this product. Thanks to Unsanctioned, we now have a way to play with silver boarded commanders that have an enemy pair color identity. Circadian Night Owl is a 4/4 bird knight with Night Lifelink for 3 generic and 2 white. However, since he has a black activated ability, he has a white-black color identity. Night Lifelink gives the night creatures you control the old wording for Lifelink. What's great about this wording and not actual Lifelink is that Lifelink doesn't accumulate. If a knight were to have Lifelink as well as this ability, you gain twice the amount of life per damage they deal. Essentially, Circadian was made as a kind of night tribal commander. However, for just 1 more mana, you could play Sir Gwyn, Hero of Ashvale instead. Sir Gwyn is a much better night tribal commander. I can understand that the point of Circadian is to have a bunch of puns though, his name being a play on the Circadian sleep cycle. This is also aligned with its abilities where it gets vigilance during the day and flying at night. However, as cheeky as the puns are, it's just bad, especially when Sir Gwyn wasn't even released that long ago. Alexander Clamilton is a 0/4 Clamfolk Advisor Rebel for 2 generic and 1 blue. However, since he has a red activated ability, he has a blue-red color identity. You get to scry 2 whenever you cast a wordy spell, wordy meaning 4 more lines of rules text. On its own, the ability is pretty useful, but he has this triggered ability because of his activated ability. When you pay 2 and tap him, you reveal the top card of your library. He then gets +X+0 until end of turn, where X is the amount of lines of rule text of that card. He then fights a creature you don't control. On its own, the ability is weak since Alexander Clamilton will more than likely die in most fights. He also might not be able to even kill his target. Even so, there are ways to improve this. In my deck tech video for Alexander Clamilton, which you can find in the link above, I go into great detail in making him a viable commander for a blue-red pinger deck. That episode of the brewery explains how to take full advantage of his abilities, so if you're thinking about building around him, give that video a watch. You can also find a link to some memes I made for him in the description of that video. A Cornelia Fashionable Filcher is a 3/3 squirrel for 3 generic and 1 black. Having a green activated ability makes her have a black-green color identity. To me, she's one of the best new quote-unquote commanders of this product. She has 2 triggered abilities and 2 activated abilities. Whenever you cast a spell with a squirrel in its art, you get an acorn counter. You also get an acorn counter whenever a squirrel enters the battlefield or dies. Building her as a squirrel tokens deck with an aristocrat's theme to it is definitely the best way to maximize acorn counters. If you want to see such a deck, you can follow the link above to my deck tech video on A Cornelia dedicated to creating and sacrificing squirrel tokens for maximum value. The reason we want so many acorn counters is because her 2 activated abilities require paying acorn counters. You can use acorn counters to either buff a creature or enfeeble a creature. She's definitely the best designed creature in Unsanctioned and the most fun to build around. Stet Draconic Proofreader is a 4/4 dragon with flying for 4 generic and 2 red. He has a white activated ability, thus giving him a red-white color identity. Out of the 6 commanders in the set, I feel like Stet is by far the worst one, and it's a shame because it's yet another weak red-white commander. Good red-white commanders are very few and far between, and Stet does nothing to improve this. For his attack-based ability to work, you need to exile specific cards from your graveyard, so you also have to build around a graveyard meta strategy in colors that aren't too good for it. Not to say they're bad because red has a lot of looting and wheel effects, but you don't have much support for it. His white ability helps a bit in finding a target, but it's just too many hoops to jump through at that point. The only good thing about this card is its joke. Pippa, Duchess of Dice, is a 2/2 human noble for 2 generic and 1 green. She has a blue activated ability which gives her a color identity of green-blue. Pippa is a very straightforward commander. You pay 3 mana and roll a 6-sided die. It becomes a die creature token with power and toughness equal to result. This means that you have a 67% chance of creating a token worth the mana invested in it. Otherwise, you paid 3 mana and tap Pippa to create a 1/1 or a 2/2. Her second ability has you reroll any die. This ability is great if your deck is built around it, or if you're playing Plane Chase. If you're watching this video before I've released the next episode of the brewery, she's going to be the commander I'm making a deck tech for. So if you want any ideas on how to build her, give it a watch. If you're seeing this video after I released that episode, then you would have seen the link to it appear somewhere above. The last quote-unquote commander of the set is named as such, Surgeon Commander. It's a 3/3 Wombat Bat Chameleon for 3 generic and 1 green. Since it has all 5 mana symbols in its text box, it has a Wooburg color identity. It can tap down for mana of any color, which is okay, but not really that accelerative since it costs 4 to cast. That being said, it has a triggered ability that cares about you augmenting, enchanting, or mutating a creature. When you do, you draw a card. This makes it more powerful since it's mana acceleration and card advantage in the command zone. It's also super easy to cast considering it has a Wooburg color identity, but is only green. As of the recording of this video, no one knows what mutate is. But as far as augment goes, I feel like Surgeon Commander is an apology for not making Dr. Julius Jumblemorph be all colors in order to play Commander with all augment and host creatures. Even so, I still prefer Dr. Julius as an augment host commander because his interaction with that mechanic is better than Surgeon Commander's. If you want a 5-colored host augment, just play General Tazri. Since Dr. Julius Jumblemorph has all creature types, you can fetch for him with General Tazri. It is a bit of a glass cannon though, if Dr. Julius is taken care of. But I feel like it's still a better host augment deck than Surgeon Commander. That being said, the way I built around Surgeon Commander, which you can see if you follow the link above, that's my deck fic video on it, is with auras. Enchanting a creature with control draws us a card. Having access to all 5 colors means adding all the best possible auras and interactions to the deck. So to me at least, that's the best direction for Surgeon Commander. Alright, let's move on to the rest of the cards. The product includes 2 new host augment creatures, Bat and Strutting Turkey. Bat provides a good augment since it gives flying and +1/+1 for just 2 mana. Additionally, it triggers at the end of an end step in which an opponent lost 3 or more life. Strutting Turkey is great and I'm glad it's white because it can be included in a Dr. Julius Jumblemorph deck. Essentially, it can cheat cheap creatures onto the battlefield. If it has augment, it combines with the host you control, which is amazing because the casting cost of augment creatures is 0. This allows you to cheat augment creatures onto the battlefield as well as recycle them if they were destroyed or discarded earlier on. Flavor Judge is a chicken in art only because it would seem that chicken is a creature type that went the ways of the falcon. At first, I was disappointed since it was fun to have a chicken type, but all the reprinted chickens are now birds and whenever chicken was mentioned as a creature, it's now bird. Again, Oracle hasn't been updated to include Unsanctioned yet, but I'm pretty sure that's what's going to happen upon its release. In any case, the effect on Flavor Judge is similar to the mechanic in Unstable, where you could get people outside of the game involved in your own. Basically, you can counter a spell or ability that the outside player deems nonsensical. Bob, or Bevy of Beevils, is a planeswalker of the Bob type. This planeswalker is similar to the planeswalkers from the Mystery Booster test cards in its design, especially Abian, Luvian Usurper, and Personal Decoy. Its loyalty mechanics are tied to the amount of Beebles you have in play. Its abilities are useful though, and it does create Beebles when it enters the battlefield. Apart from Changelings, there aren't many Beebles in Magic. That being said, you can make all your creatures Beebles with Xenograft and Arcane Adaptation if you're running Mono Blue. If you're also running Black, you can run Conspiracy in order to make all your creatures Beebles. Keep in mind though that using its loyalty abilities requires you to create or sacrifice that many Beebles. Rings the Bell is a card I'm surprised they printed, being as so many players complained about the gacha mechanic, and this one is fairly similar. Basically, if no one catches you saying a word for the first time each turn, you get to draw a card. I feel like this will create a lot of conflict since you might have players arguing whether you said it or not. This is definitely a card I would steer clear from. Infernius Spawnington III, Esquire, is the culmination of the run-on gag of Infernal Spawn of Evil and Infernal Spawn of Infernal Spawn of Evil. I was actually surprised when they skipped over a potential grandchild in Unstable, but at least they rectified that in Unsanctioned. It costs a whopping 11 mana to cast, but it costs 3 generic less for each card you revealed that turn. That means that you can potentially get a 9/9 with Flying, First Strike, Trample, and Haste for just 1 black mana. For example, activating Wood Sage is enough to cast it for just 1 black mana. So this is definitely a great card to include in decks where you're revealing cards for other effects. Abstract Iguanar is too much work for what it does. Every time you cast a spell, it gets a +1/+1 counter if the artist's name begins with a letter that wasn't noted before. For just 2 more mana, Forgotten Ancient gets a +1/+1 counter whenever any player plays any spell, regardless of the artist. This card is just incredibly bad, honestly. Bloom Stacker is a dexterity card where you have to stack dice on it. Its power and toughness is equal to the dice stacked on it. It has to attack each combat and it has to be sacrificed when the stack falls. Can you already see why this can be a problem? How are you going to react when someone quote-unquote accidentally bumps into the table and knocks down the stack of dice? I think the concept of the card is fun, but I can also see the potential for a lot of discussions because of it. I think it has the potential to cause more drama than fun. Spirit of the Season is an interesting card. It's a 3/3 Tree Folk Spirit for 3 mana that has an Enter the Battlefield trigger that depends on what season it is. I think that's fun and unique. However, what about in places where there are no seasons? For example, in the tropics, it's summer all year round, or at the very least, it's basically only spring and then summer and then back to spring all over again. Same goes for the areas near the poles. They only have winter year round. In any case, it's not that bad of a card if you want to have a chuckle when casting it. Underdome is a great card and I'm glad it's printed multiple times in the product. It can tap down for colorless mana or it can tap down for mana of any color if that mana will be used to pay for silver bordered spells or activate abilities on silver bordered cards. If you have a ton of silver bordered cards in your commander cube, you might want to consider this one for your land slots. As for the product per se, I have mixed feelings. They're more negative than positive though, but I think that has to do with my expectations for it. Expectations that stemmed from how it was marketed. We were told this product was made for cube and commander in mind. Okay, it's silver bordered, so none of these cards are legal in the format except for the basic lands. But Maro has gone on to say in Twitter that people who are upset about these lands that are here and only here that only care about the lands, that this product isn't for them. But then why market it for commander players when the only cards we can technically use are the basic lands? So it's understandable that some players would only buy this for the lands. It's not like Surgeon Commander or a Cornelia are legal in Commander, so what's the point? Also, it was made for cube in mind. What card in this product are tailored to the cube then? Find me one card with draft mechanics involved. If it's because the reprints of popular silver bordered cards are included and those are the ones you had in mind for cube, then say so. This is a reprint product more than anything because the new cards aren't really that good. I would have preferred Wizards took their time with this and made another amazing silver bordered set like they did with Unstable. They could have taken some of the better ideas from the Mystery Booster test cards and some more cohesive cards and released a new set altogether. A set with more contraptions, more commanders, centered around silver bordered mechanics, etc. This product was designed for players like me in mind because I love silver bordered cards, but it's going to be a hard pass even for me. That being said, if you're a new player and weren't exposed to the older silver bordered cards, then this is a product for you if that's what you like. The reprints are decent since it included some of the more pricey silver bordered cards, but this product was not for cube or commander like it was marketed as. Had it been for cube in mind, then there should have been more cards that had draft mechanics like the conspiracy sets and new cards that had you open booster packs like Booster Suitor, Summon the Pact, and Stalking Tiger. So at least for me, this product was extremely overhyped. It was promoted as being a wrestling fighting type theme, but that's nowhere to be found except for the wrestling ring art in Underdome and the chicken referee in Flavor Judge. So that was also a lie. It was also designed for Commander players, but none of the cards are legal in Commander, except for the controversial lands. It was designed for cubes, but the only cards good for cube are only some of the reprints because lots of cube designers include them in their cube because of their tameness. But where are the new cards for cube? Nowhere. Honestly, they should have just said that this product was just a reprint product with a handful of new cards in it, and that's it. Thus concludes this flight of cards from Unsanctioned. In any case, I hope this episode has been informative for you, even though these are clearly my own opinions and views on the cards herein discussed. If you have any opinions or thoughts of your own on these cards, let me know in the comments. I want to take this opportunity to thank my patrons by giving a shout out to all my higher tier patrons, the Brewers, for their patronage. I also want to thank all those who've liked, shared, commented, and subscribed so far to my channel. My continued growth is thanks to your support. And to everyone, thanks for watching this episode of A Flight on the Commander Tavern. I am Demented Kirby, and happy theory crafting.